The Running Man is one of Ocarina of Time's greatest mysteries, but also one of its most annoying ones. Who thought it would be a good idea to create a challenge that couldn't be beaten? Well, today we're going to be experimenting with the Running Man as a little payback for him for thwarting our childhoods. I hope you enjoy this bizarre breakdown. And if you do enjoy my videos, subscribe now so you don't miss them. So first off, let's quickly recap that mystery. The Running Man is someone who appears in the Gerudo Valley tent, and after you free all the carpenters, you can then initiate a race from that area that takes you all the way to the bridge that's leading to Cucco Forest. And this is a timed challenge. As soon as you're done talking to him, the race begins, and you must make your way all the way back to the forest. But there's a catch. As soon as you enter that bridge area, you'll see the Running Man sitting on the bridge, and he has already beaten you. Whatever your time is, he's going to tell you that he beat you just by 1 second. And this is kind of annoying because every time you complete this race, he seemingly beats you again and again. And he kind of barks about a killer instinct and stuff like that, and then he eventually runs back to the tent. And kids, of course, myself included, kept trying to do this race over and over, thinking that for some reason we were able to beat it. And it's kind of dumb, the way this guy talks, it almost sounds like he knows something we don't. And being in a game where you have to travel through time, it made us think that we had to travel through time, potentially, to beat this sucker. But of course, this doesn't work. Nothing works. But I do have to say it was really gratifying seeing the Running Man get beat down 20-something years later as a boss fight in a speedrun. Now, there was a speedrun where they used arbitrary code execution to modify the game and kind of create a fun boss fight. Now, this wasn't actually in the files of the game, this was something that was created. However, it was really fun watching Link take down this guy who tormented all of us as kids. But you know what? That isn't enough. No, today we're gonna mess with the Running Man even further. I have some plans for you, little Running Man, and I am going to enjoy this. But first, we have some ground to cover. Quite literally. So let's talk about how the Running Man works as a concept. Basically, the Running Man is an object that has a trigger that when hit, activates the race. And then there is another trigger that I believe is specific to one map, that bridge area, that when this object is loaded in on that bridge specifically, that will allow you to end the race with the Running Man. I'll get into this a bit more when I start experimenting with this dude, but I wanted to set the stage with that. Because when you do walk into the room, or really any room the Running Man is present in, there's a very interesting characteristic that happens. The Running Man, for some reason, spawns in upside down. Now, I am not sure why this happens, but he actually loads in upside down and sort of folded up, and it only takes him a few frames to basically turn right side up and pull himself out of the ground to come to a sitting position. Now, there are two versions of the Running Man. There is the adult version, which is the one we see here sitting down, and then we have the Child Link version, which is the one that runs around Hyrule Field. Both of these reference the same object, but depending on the specific data associated with it when he's loaded in, will change whether he starts running around or if he's the sitting type that challenges Link or tells him he basically lost. And speaking of losing, even if we were to spawn, say, the Running Man in the same room or outside of the room and challenge him right then and there, and then leave and go to Cucco Forest on the bridge before the timer has a chance to update, we can basically get him to say that we completed the run in an absurd amount of time. It's even possible for him to admit that we completed the run in 0 seconds. Now what's funny is the game always tries to roll back the value that your time is. So if you made it here in 1:45, he's gonna say, oh, I beat you because my run was 1:44. Well, when you roll back 0, the next character that's pulled upon in these set of values becomes a slash sign. So he will say that he beat you in /seconds. And seeing this is obviously quite bizarre. I don't know if this dude is Chuck Norris and he just divided by 0, but what he's telling us is basically impossible. And if I knew this character was like this as a kid, I would be very upset. But now the tables have turned, Running Man. It is now my time to send you on a wild goose chase. So let the mayhem begin. So like I mentioned before, trying to start the race with the Running Man in different areas is possible. However, we cannot end the race in absurd locations. We can only start it there. Trying to end the race in areas that are not the bridge will have him say the dialogue as if he just started the race. It's very strange. So the first thing is we're gonna mess with this timer. The race obviously triggers a timer that starts counting up, but there's a multitude of timers in the game that count down. But the kicker is the game really only keeps track of like one timer. And that's kind of how we're going to break this. So let's challenge the Running Man, and then we're going to go to Ganondorf's castle. Now, when you defeat Ganondorf up top, of course, he falls down, the castle starts to fall apart, and a 3-minute timer starts. Now, we could have technically chosen really any timer, but this one works pretty well because it's a bit longer. It's kind of funny because I triggered this fight by actually going up the crumbling tower backwards. I went up top and then the cutscene triggered because I never triggered it before, and then we got our timer. And from there, we're going to warp back to the forest. Now, at this point, the timer is counting down. We started the race, and then we basically reversed the flow of time on the timer only. So instead of gaining time as we travel, we are now reducing time as we stand there in front of the Running Man, waiting to talk to him until the timer gets really, really low. If the Running Man's gonna play games, so are we. Now, doing this method would actually allow you to get a really low time in the game legitly. Legitly, because obviously I'm warping around, but you could do some glitches and stuff, and you could then probably get out of the final castle area and back here with Ganondorf's timer still intact, and then you can normally record that as your time. Well, the problem is I just did this, and my time is already set to /seconds, so there's no way, even with a timer of 0, that I'm going to beat my record. And the timer cannot go below 0 because when Ganondorf's timer is outside the castle, the game treats it as if we're running an errand. So basically, instead of dying and respawning at the top of the castle, the game instead prompts us that the delivery we were trying to make has failed. So it reloads the map and gets rid of the timer. This happens as soon as it hits 0 seconds. Trying to wait any longer interrupts our chance to talk to him. So of course, the Running Man spits in our face and then runs off. But no, you're not getting away. You see, Running Man, like I mentioned before, since you can screw with us, it's now time to screw with you. So I know how much you love running through Hyrule Field, but what if we disrupt your spawning spot? So if we were to go on Hyrule Field and then load the Running Man up on top, there's like these weird overarching areas above the map that you can normally not get to in Hyrule Field, and there's like these patches of grass that kind of go off into the void. Now, if we load him in up there, he's going to start running and then stop because it's nighttime. But the second the day comes, he's going to run down below, and he's going to run into a wall, then he's going to fall for all of eternity. For some reason, he doesn't do walls very well, and he just falls into the void. What's that? Oh, you say you love running on Hyrule Field? How about running through the scorching sands of this ghostly, never-ending desert? What's that? Oh, your skin's blistering and you need water? You're thirsty? Oh, that can be arranged. Welcome to Lake Hylia, where there's plenty of water, and you're going to be running on the bottom of the lake. Like any good mob boss, I took an original Xbox console and tied it to the Running Man's legs and threw him into the lake. And yet, time marches on, and so does the Running Man. This dude's holding his breath while he's running through the entirety of Lake Hylia. And I'm up top, grinning like a madman, as I watch him struggle as he runs through the lake holding his breath. But there is no salvation. No, there is no salvation, because when he reaches the wall, of course, he falls into the great beyond. And it's actually kind of neat, because if we slow down the game, we can see him falling ever so slowly. And eventually, he reaches the edge of the loading range for the camera, and thus he disappears into nothing. We've lost so many good running men today. But wouldn't you know it, I cloned this dude so I could do this over and over again. And for our last magic trick, we're going to the Shadow Temple. We're going to put the Running Man on the boat and have him sail down the river. You see, Running Man, this battle between you and I, it's been going on for ages, and the only way we can end it is by me sending you to the underworld. I hope you enjoy your ship ride to the great beyond, because nothing but suffering awaits you down there. Goodbye, sir, and goodbye, bane of my childhood. No. How did he survive? So hold on a second. This is a side note here that I recorded after this video. So when I was trying to get footage of the Running Man running around Hyrule to use in this video, I actually spawned him in Hyrule just so I could follow him with the camera. And to my surprise, the Running Man ran straight, but then he eventually got to the water. But when he got to the water, he actually began running inside the river, and he followed the river, going all the way down to where you normally enter Zora's domain, and yet he turned around at that loading point. And then he ran all the way to Hyrule Castle, going under the bridge, and then eventually running through the grating that goes under the castle. Inside that, he took a left, and he ran alongside the castle, basically following the river exactly, and he eventually moved out to the left, went through another grating, and the river ends there, and at that point, he jumped off. But this is really strange because in my mind, the running man always had a set path that he followed in Hyrule Field. He went from point A to point B, from point B to point C, and so on, basically making his rounds. But this was different. It was like he was following the river. So I actually reached out to my friend Sauraen, who was one of the main people behind the Triforce Percent speedrun, and kind of ran the concept by him. And Sauraen kind of took a guess and was wondering if perhaps the running man started following the path for the water. They stated, bodies of water have passed through them for the water sound effects. The water isn't just point audio sources, it calculates the distance from the camera to the closest point on the path. The path also stores info about how fast and wide the water is at that point. Upon further inspection by Sauraen in the Ocarina of Time decomp, it looks like the running man was indeed running on this water path. By spawning him in the way I did, it seems like this was a path he latched onto in the scene. I thought that was an interesting quirk that I discovered after making this video, but I hope you enjoyed this bizarre breakdown of this weird fella, and of course, I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers!